Mitzi from Animator vs. Animation and Billy Beaver from Toon Turf are from two different indie animated shows. However, these two characters actually share a lot of similarities. First, let's talk about Mitzi. Mitzi appears in Animator vs. Animation episode 11, where after Victim escapes Alan's computer, he flies around and eventually lands into Grace's computer, where we see Mitzi being animated. The animation is then finished and sent to Newgrounds, and the green life particles start making their way, pushing Victim along for the ride. We then see the animation of Mitzi get posted to Newgrounds, with the green life particles continuing their journey to the Outernet, still dragging Victim along for the ride. This causes him to smash into the Outernet border, slowly breaking him through until finally he crashes on the surface of the Outernet, where Mitzi spawns. She then sees Victim in a state of panic and reaches out her hand to help, showing her friendly and kind personality to a character who had previously never been given this, and so he decides to trust her. Anyways, the two meet some townfolk, visit their village, and Victim starts repairing a windmill that he accidentally broke on his way down. He starts using his tools and everyone is impressed, and Mitzi and some of the townfolk start helping him repair it until it's finally complete. Using the tools, Mitzi and Victim would help repair stuff around the town and would even start a company called Rocket Corp, which would grow and become super successful. Victim would experience PTSD from Alan, but Mitzi would always be there to comfort him, and eventually he got past it. Oh, and by the way, Mitzi is the CEO of Rocket Corp. Things are going great, and they even hold a celebration for their 4 years of operation, having this like dance party. But then all of a sudden, Mitzi is ripped away, and some other people start disappearing too, and that is because Newgrounds is under attack. It's complete chaos, and Mitzi is surrounded by the destruction, evading explosions but also helping people when necessary. But then this explosion happens right here, and she gets stuck under some rubble. Agent tries to catch up to her and help her, however, it's too late. And when Agent looks up, he sees the Chosen One, and he slowly backs away into the smoke. But we, the audience, see that it wasn't just the Chosen One, but the Dark Lord was there as well. And from context clues, it's likely that the Dark Lord was the one that killed Mitzi. That is just a theory, but still. Anyways, Agent escapes, slowly makes his way to Rocket Corp, where he regroups with Victim, and Victim puts a memory scanner on his head and witnesses Mitzi getting murdered. And he believes that this was done by the Chosen One. And then years later, in 2018, we see some footage and then connect some more dots. That's Mitzi's story. Now let's look at Billy the Beaver. You see, Riggy had just moved to Toonville, but was running into many inconveniences and chaos, even getting bullets fired at him, which would lead to a point of panic, and then he would start to cry. But Billy, upon seeing this, comforts Riggy by hugging him and asks if everything is okay and listens to him.
Folks ought to be more welcoming.
He lets him know that he'll be his friend and wants to help Riggy out. Riggy's tree is currently stuck in the house. Wait a minute. Riggy's house is currently stuck in the tree, so Billy offers Riggy a saw. He brings him to his house where Riggy meets Bethel, who is Billy's mother, but she has to go in for work. Anyways, the two have some more conversations before Riggy is given the saw and Riggy leaves. But later, after Riggy talks to Darius, he wants to explore a factory and stop a drug exchange from happening, outing some penguins and looking like a hero. He goes to Billy's house and explains all this. Billy is reluctant but doesn't want Riggy to go alone, so he joins him. Anyways, the two break into the factory, much to Billy's dismay, and then they get caught by the penguins. Chaos ensues, and just as they're escaping, dynamite blows up. Riggy is safe, but when he turns around... Billy is on fire and Riggy is struggling on what to do. He starts to panic as the police are there, and because his only friend is currently slowly burning to death right in front of his eyes. Riggy tries to go get some water, but it is too late and Billy has burnt to death. The police takes a picture and Riggy escapes, and we cut to the news covering the incident, showing the penguins and Billy who had died, and also showing this image of Riggy, but no one knows who the suspect is. And we see that Riggy is watching from within his home, and he is sobbing. And that's where the episode ends, to be continued.
Wait, hold on. That's it?
Billy the Beaver and Mitzi both show up when the main character, at least for the episode, is under a state of stress and panic. Upon seeing this, they offer a helping hand, showing kindness to them when they desperately needed it, when beforehand all they were experiencing was hostility. Seriously, both of these characters had been slapped, shot at, and gone through other traumatic stuff. Even more interestingly, this interaction between the two characters in each story happens after the main character leaves their quote-unquote home, their home being a not not so great place. With Riggy, he was raised by toxic parents who loved and appreciated his brother Jordan more than him. It seemed that they showed love to each member of the family except for Riggy, who constantly gets yelled at and called names.
What'd you say, you little brat?
And in Victim's case, I don't even know if home in quotes even covers it. Alan quite literally tortured Victim for months. Heck, not even just torture, literally murdered him for months, reviving him and killing him over and over again until finally one day Victim escaped. Both of these characters escaped from their quote-unquote home, a place of toxicity, and in the new uncharted land, they would meet a friend who is nice and kind. Victim would meet Mitzi immediately though. Riggy on the other hand would still have to continue dealing with some chaos and other unfortunate events before finally meeting Billy. Billy and Mitzi would be a light in this dark world, and then when they learn about something that the main character needs to fix, they immediately offer to help. They would become their friends. And in Victim and Mitzi's case, it would become even more than that, a couple. Honestly, looking at Billy and Mitzi's characters, they are very similar with their personalities, being very friendly, kind, outgoing, supportive, and optimistic. But yeah, halfway through Toon Turf and AVA 11, they are now friends with the main characters, helping them when need be. They're even both friends with a cop. Like in Billy's case, it's obvious they have a scene together, but with Mitzi, it's a bit more subtle, but it's there. Just another funny little similarity. But then we get to the end of the episode, and we, the audience, know about their unfortunate fate. Both of these characters would experience an explosive, fiery death, leaving the main characters sad and completely lost. Billy and Mitzi are both introduced and killed off within the same episode. They both don't have a ton of screen time, but Dano and Alan are smart with their writing and get the audience to care about these two characters. And you're sad when they get murdered, but this has to happen for the plot. It gives the main characters this backstory and explains why they do what they do later in the story. It's really interesting and quite similar. The only big difference is how they're killed. With Mitzi, is completely out of Victim's control, and it's done so by a sick character that Alan created, someone that tormented Victim so many years ago. Victim in this case is, well, truly a victim, and Mitzi is unfortunately dragged into the chaos as well. But with Billy the Beaver, it was actually Riggy's fault. Riggy convinced, practically begged Billy to come with him to the factory. He's the one that would bring the dynamite and light it, and the explosion was his fault, killing the two penguins and Billy in the process. But nonetheless, both of these characters would die, leaving the two main characters in a state of distraught. And one last similarity I want to mention is that both of these characters in universe had a creator. In Mitzi's case, it's obvious. We see her literally being created by Grace before she is sent to Newgrounds and then comes to life from the green life particles in the Outernet. But with Billy, it's more in theory territory. You see, in the History of Riggy video, at the end we see these images right here, with this mysterious character creating the Toon Turf characters. Yeah, we don't know much about this lore, but we probably will in the future. There's a big probability that this character created Billy the Beaver, but we can't be sure. Anyway, subscribe if you like this content. I talk about indie shows on YouTube, so if you're interested, then consider subscribing. Oh, and hey, I did something similar before, being